See, I had to start from the beginning. Open your hymnals. Like I said, Marz, I'm go ahead, walk, leave, if I care. I've been show business for, like I said, about 40 years. Been a comedian for about the last 30. I consider myself a topical comic. So, you know, I would look at the newspapers. I would watch what's on TV just to see if I could find something, you know, current that I could make fun of. I never cared. Not too many people cared. And then all of a sudden 9/11 happened, and a lot of us started thinking about it. As a matter of fact, here in Austin, they brought who was Al Franken came to town to the Paramount Easter meeting. You know, I want to go see him. I lived up over by the Paramount, went over there, and they were shooting a show, a radio show called Air America. So I started looking at the alternate thing. I started learning, you know, Air America has Janine Garofalo. I started listening to them. I started waking up to the fact that, you know, she was talking about how this administration and current, the Bush administration, these people are pathological liars, and I went with it. I thought, okay. And then one day, it changed over to Obama. Now, by that time, I really started learning. You know, I knew Obama was just a show for the global elite. And I figured, okay, people are going to see that nothing has changed. The wars are increasing, all this stuff that we promised. I'm getting ahead of myself. The first thing I'd like to say is, I speak for myself. Karen Wright's here. Thank you for coming out, Karen. She's with Boat Rescue. I've attended the boat rescue meetings. I've helped out under your auspices. I was actually an alternate judge at the precinct. We testified before the State House Committee on Elections. What is it? The State
Committee on Elections.
Yeah, the election committee. Yeah, Committee on Elections. We testified to them. We brought them brochures, books, pamphlets. They had no excuse. It was kind of like though, if any of you all went to a city council meeting where they sit there and politely act like they're listening, like when they had the people came in there and tried to get them to stop putting fluoride in the water. You had like 3 of them over there. Same thing happened to them. This committee of elections is this group of people, just like that, a bunch of empty chairs, and 2 or 3 people. One of them actually acting like he was interested. The rest of them, when I started talking, got up and walked. It's kind of like these guys did. They didn't want to hear it. They knew. I mean, it's like when people are evil and you point out how evil they are. It's like, uh-oh, here's somebody who's wearing the sunglasses that shows that I'm a lizard. You know, they got to go, right? What was that movie? They Live, or something like that. Everything I know I learned with movies. Anyway, I speak for myself, or something. I prepared this speech last night. I thought, oh no, what did I do? I don't have enough time. There's a lot of information. If you do your research, you can find out there's a lot going on. The most important point that I like to bring up in all this, it's not necessarily the mechanics of election fraud, which is what my dissertation is on, but the mechanics of the whole thing, the whole machine. It's set up to con us. We are, well, to quote Morpheus, we're slaves. Neo. The mainstream media is BS and has been since the beginning. And I applaud you guys. Thank you. Occupy has been around for what? 4 or 5 months? Bless you. I've been doing this for about 5 years. I don't claim to outrank anybody. It's a learning process. And some of you don't get it. What I'm telling you, do the research, please. Don't believe me. I beg you, please do the research. For this very small period of time in geological history of this planet, for a very tiny little flutter of a hummingbird's wing, we have internet access. Now I know, I get it. Porno's important. I know. Searching for shoes is important. You know, trying to get laid on Facebook and MySpace is important. Well, once in a while, find a topic that you think is also important and find out what is really going on. And I got a hint for you. If you go onto a site that's owned by the mainstream media, you're not learning anything. You need to find out what I'm saying is that they're lying sex suggestions. Let me give a little history of what's going on with the elections. How much time you got? I don't want to hold you over too late. Karen,
about 40 minutes.
Huh? Oh, I know how much time I got. Well, I should set the last watch so that I know what's going on. Okay. I had this kind of planned out, this series of events, but I want to jump straight into the mainstream media because I'm crazy that way. I hate them. Well, let's talk about presidential elections. Let's talk about what I've learned. This is my, 10 or so years of paying attention. In 2000, George W. Bush won the election, right? And it all came down to Florida. Now, as everyone was watching the TV, between Gore and Bush, they were all like, it's too close to count, it's too close to count, too close to count, too close to count, it's too close to count. You can flip between all the channels and see what's going on. I remember doing that. And then all of a sudden, bam! Rupert Murdoch, his propaganda wing, Fox News, said, Bush won! Yahoo! And all the other channels said, yeah, Bush won! La 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 la. So we got Bush as our president. But how? How did it happen? Did he actually win? Did somebody count the votes to say that he won? No, in actuality, the recount showed months later, Gore won. He was our president. But the people who ran the elections, you have the Secretary of State who's in charge of the elections. Is that in every state? Secretary of State? Okay. So I was thinking, Secretary of State of Florida at the time was the head of the Republican Party. Conflict of interest? Maybe. But Rupert Murdoch was a diehard Republican, so conflict of interest? Maybe. But what's even funnier is that year, they actually, the Supreme Court, in a vote of 5-4, declared Bush president. And the reasoning was, you made him to be president. You would hurt his feelings. It was pretty much to that effect. That was the wording of his acquisition. Okay, let's get forward to Kerry versus Bush, 2004. This time it came down to Ohio. Again, the Secretary of State during the elections was the head of the Republican Party in Ohio. Coincidence? I think not. The recount showed that no, he didn't win that state. Kerry was supposed to. What was even thicker about the whole thing was that election fraud was in the news. People were pissed off. Some people, the ones who weren't blinded by the mainstream media haze, knew that the election fraud was going on. It was pretty quick and obvious. So, Kerry, as part of his campaign promises, said that he would fight it. He would make sure that he spent money. He had $50 million sitting in a war chest, ready to fight that election. Did he? No, he conceded. And lost $50 million. Not a bad deal to you, but your oath to Skull and Bones supersedes all other oaths. And of course, when your cousin went, this time. So, let's move on. What was next? Well, election fraud can be something that can be hidden a lot of different ways. Another way to hide it is to put somebody in there that you want to win, and you know it's going to get everybody's vote. Obama versus what? Hockey Mom and McCain? Only complete brainwashed minions would vote for that team. And look for them, they're out there. I still see McCain stickers on cars. I used to drive by the huge McCain sign. Palin, for God's sake, truly, seriously? I'm Sarah Palin, and I have one flag and one flag open. Only in my office as governor of California, only one flag, the flag of Israel. I was raised as a Methodist.
Good people.
Not that I am one. I was baptized Catholic. Doesn't mean they owe me. I don't know, maybe I'm going to register somewhere that says I'm a Catholic. Anyway. Off topic. I'm trying to stay on topic. The thing is that we get what they tell us we have, right? We get the president they say we get. We get the candidate. We get the bills. We get what they tell us. It's them. Enough of that crap. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about mainstream media. I think there's an argument. I was in an argument with somebody. I don't know if he's here. I don't want to signal you out. But they were trying to tell me that I was saying, look, the mainstream media has been compromised beginning, and it was forever. He's like, you guys are arguing with me in a little chat room. Maybe some of you have seen it. Oh, no, it's accurate. You have to put it in a light. President Thomas Jefferson said, I really look with commiseration over the great body of my fellow citizens who, reading newspapers, live and die in the belief that they have known something of what has been passing in their times. The man who reads nothing at all is better educated than the man who reads nothing but newspapers. They've been lying to us since the beginning. You don't believe Jefferson? Come on now, you know what I'm not here. I know what you're thinking. I learned that on the internet. Did they have internet 200 years ago? Yes, they did. John Swinton, New York journalist, gave this speech at a banquet in the 1880s. What folly is this? Toasting an independent press. There is no such thing at this date of the world's history in America as an independent press. You know it, and I know it. He was talking to his peers in the media. There is not one of you who dares to write your honest opinions, and if you did, you know beforehand that it would never appear in print. I am paid weekly for keeping my honest opinions out of the paper. I am connected with. Others of you are paid similar salaries for similar things, and any of you who would be so foolish as to write honest opinions would be out on the streets looking for another job. If I allowed my honest opinions to appear in one issue of my paper before 24 hours, my occupation would be gone. The business of the journalist is to destroy the truth, to lie outright, to pervert, to vilify, to fawn at the feet of mammon, and to sell his country and his race for his daily bread. You know it, and I know it. And what folly is this roasting? Is this toasting? Is this toasting an independent press? We are the tools and vassals of rich men behind the scenes. We are the jumping jacks. They pull the strings and we dance. Our talents, our possibilities, and our lives are the property of other men. We are intellectual prostitutes. To which his friends replied, John, go easy on the booze. On the outbreak. U.S. Congressman Oscar Callaway in 1917 was talking. He said in March of 1915, the J.P. Morgan interest, the Steel Shipbuilding and Powder interest, and their subsidiary organizations got together 12 men high up in the newspaper world and employed them to select the most influential newspapers in the United States and sufficient number of them to control generally the policy of the daily press. They found it was only necessary to purchase the control of 25 of the greatest papers. An agreement was reached. The policy of the papers was bought to be paid for by the month, and editor was furnished for each paper to properly supervise and edit information regarding the questions of preparedness, militarism, financial policies, and other things of national and international nature, was considered vital to the interests of the purchasers. Back then, there were a lot of corporations that controlled the media. Now there are 6. Let me say that again. There are 6, and actually 5 that we pay attention to in this country as far as news goes. Corporations that have control of everything that comes out of your TV, your newspapers, your magazines, even books, even movies. These people control even the billboards. They control it all. And yet, I get fools still arguing to me now, in the 21st century, the stuff they saw on TV is somehow valid. Yeah. David Cromwell said, the mass media is itself part of the same power structure that plunders the planet and inflicts human rights abuses on a massive scale. David Rockefeller, in 1991 Trilateral Commission meeting, said this, we are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity during those years. But the work is now much more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. Hallelujah. The superintendent, the
do that. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries. Michael Parenti, political scientist and author, said the enormous gap between what U.S. leaders do in the world and what Americans think their leaders are doing is one of the great propaganda accomplishments of the dominant political mythology. The CIA program, maybe some of you have heard of this, Operation Mockingbird, was disclosed in public in the Church Senate Committee hearings in 1976, then reported in detail by Woodward Bernstein in the Washington Post. So sometimes the truth gets in. I'm not saying it's 100% gone, but you can bet heads roll when the truth gets into the media. This was a fully implemented CIA program that spread this information throughout the American media. CIA Director William Colby testified to the Church Committee that over 400 CIA agents were active in the U.S. media to control what was reported through American mainstream television, newspapers, and magazines. President Ford fired Colby after his testimony, replacing him with George H.W. Bush. Half the CIA budget goes to media manipulation, ladies and gentlemen, and the other half goes to rigging elections. And I'm not just talking about this country, I'm talking worldwide. Everything I'm saying up here, you can keyword search and find out for yourself.
What was the year on that 400 people, 400 CIA agents in the media? What was the year?
The what?
That was like
Operation Mockingbird was 1976. A lot of the stuff I don't have the dates on. I just went through and kind of rapid fire, copy and pasted.
Yeah, sure. And
it's like, I don't know.
But that was
It's all findable. I'll post this whole speech in my goddamn. Now I gotta have one. Rupert Murdoch's News Corp dominates the American, British, Asian, and Middle Eastern media markets. Ted Turner said, Rupert Murdoch is the most dangerous man in the world. This is the same Ted Turner who has been interviewed calling the majority of humans useless eaters. So he hates everybody. He also said, and I quote, the United States has some of the dumbest people in the world. I want you to know that we know that, unquote. Richard Salem, former president of CBS News, said, our job is to give people not what they want, but what we decide they ought to have. And I hope it's ice cream. Some of this is just for me. Gary Allen, the Rockefeller File, said, it is a fact that most editors and newsmen on the staff of Life, Look, Time, Newsweek, etc., and most editors, reporters, and commentators at NBC, CBS, and ABC take their news and cues from the New York Times. Technically, it's a great newspaper, but it reports much of the news in conformity with its editorial policy. The late Arthur Hayes Stolzberger, chairman of the board of the New York Times, was a member of the CFR, and today there are at least 11 people in high positions with the Times who are CFR members. CFR is the Council on Foreign Relations. They pretty much rule this country. The people who rule the world, the Trilateral Commission, that would be the Union of Japan and Europe, or the Eurozone and the United States. Don't forget the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And of course, Bilderberg. Anybody? Nobody? Okay, fine. Bilderberg. Doesn't that sound like a hamburger joint? Welcome to Bilderberg. We will have your new world order out in 10 minutes or it's free. Am I going too fast? Those of you taking notes. I'll walk Karen. Anyway. Well, hold your question. Okay, that's what you want.
Is Golden Bowl and all of those?
Is what? Are they where?
Golden and all of those.
All the what?
All of the, like, track classes from the shoes.
So those ones is a club at where? Yale? You know, it's like, it's one of those recruiting things. You ever heard of the Rhodes Scholars? Rhodes. You know, Rhodes was all about that too. They would go into colleges and they would try to find the best and the brightest, and through various little ways, little tricks, little techniques, they see if they can be corrupted. Well, it's easy to corrupt somebody. You get them real drunk, get them naked, and have them have gay sex in a coffin. And then you take pictures. Haven't you seen the ones of Bush? Anybody?
Am I the only one? Okay, I have some long sides. I'll be passing them out later on. It was a club. It was a fraternity. They recruit people. Are you asking that to be snide, or you really want to know what's going on?
I'm wondering if they have.
Thank you for showing interest.
Tentacles and everything.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's the point I'm making. It's like they've been doing this for a very long time, since the beginning of time. What do you think this started as? Huh? The people who ruled the world at the beginning of time, once they started having language and meetings and groups getting together, you know, all you had to do to become a boss was say, wait, I understand lightning. I do. There's a God up there. There's a flaming serpent. And his name is Quetzalcoatl. Ooh, I know him personally. Sacrifice something for me. And, you know, so then you have kings, and so, you know, it's like the royalty in Europe. And then, when you become crowned a king or queen, you have the church doing it. Hello? You know how much money is the Vatican? And here's another thing. I'm getting off topic here, but it's all about propaganda. Somebody was talking about the Bible and this and that. Oh, idiot. I saw that recently. It's like the Vatican has 50 square miles of library. 50 square miles of library. So, when did they have that meeting? I guess it was about 500 years ago, where they cherry-picked a few stories, went over the book, and said, here's your handbook. Make sure you put it on the pillow. I remember being a kid, falling for all this. Anyway, well, you've got to have clear elections. And those electronic voting machines have been proven to be medicine, I think, to use the French term. They're basically, they've been invented and they've been distributed for two reasons. One is to make the people who sell them and the people they give kickbacks to very, very wealthy. Those are expensive setups. And the other reason is to steal elections. Now then, there was a question? I thought I saw a hand up. Maybe you were stretching. Huh?
Only 5 minutes.
Once again, I'm at 30 minutes. That means I have 10 more. So, well, whatever you have, I know that I was given a 45-minute spot, Mr. Censor. I'm timing it. This watch is a good watch. Cost me $5. I bought it at... The one who dies with the most $5 watches is the winner. Is I think the point I'm trying to make.
Try to wrap it up in about 5.
Huh?
You try to wrap it up in about 5.
You wrap it up. We're a nation of law. Anyway, basically what I'm trying to point out here is the way the manipulation of elections work. I'll just get to the meat of it, which is like but they don't allow us to audit. The trick is you got to be in there watching them. If you wanted to have free and fair elections, I'm not sure any of you do, but I'm hoping that some of you will. I showed some gumption. I went down there and I volunteered. You know, it's not easy getting up early in the morning, but I did it. If you really want to know how you can get involved, I have flyers here. Karen was here with Road Rescue. People kind of lost interest, as I said, when Obama came in. They were saying, look, we got what we want. So, you know, us against war, stop marching. The fuck? You guys have stepped up, and I congratulate you, and I thank you. You know, I've carried signs for years. I was in there. There's a lot of us that were in there. A lot of us have been fighting these people. This fight has been going on for 235 years. You think we won in 1776? Bullshit. A guy named Alexander Hamilton, whose picture is on the $10 bill, stepped up as an agent of the Rothschilds, and he conned George Washington into setting up the first central bank. Those are the enemies. This is a bank from a banking family from Europe. And they set up the first one. It had a charter, it ran out. The government at the time said no. When they had the War of 1812, they came in and burned down the White House, and they set up the next central bank. You know, Lincoln tried to print his own money because the Rothschilds, it's not just the Rothschilds, but they're one of the beginning founding, you know, the Ponds, Morgans. You know, look it up. There are lots of banking families. They've been going on for years. Banking families have passed it down from generation to generation. The organization still exists. The names change on the office windows, but the system is still the same. Those are the ones who are funding the media and the wars and making the money off the military industrial complex. So, in order for us to cut their strings, we do it from the ground up, right? We get in there and we take back our elections, and we destroy them surely several times. Lincoln printed $4.5 billion worth of greenbacks. They put a bullet in his head. Kennedy printed $45 billion worth of notes that weren't tied to the Federal Reserve and the central bank from England. They put a bullet in his head. Not going to be an easy fight. They're firmly entrenched. They have been inserting people into every organization that has any chance of wresting control from them, including this one, I bet. I know for a fact. I've already met one guy that was definitely a fucking agent early on. But I'm not willing to give it up. A lot of people said, fuck the Occupy movement, Occupy Boston, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They don't care about you guys. I'm stupid, maybe. I think you guys have a chance. As long as you know what the hell is going on. If you're being conned by somebody who's talking about, oh, I don't know, pig oil, then you need to wake the fuck up. Anyway, I've got the stage here. These flyers will get you great links for the Occupy, the Vote Rescue Group. Link right here. Think of them if you will. If you want to get involved and try to take this country back, I think one of the best places to start is with the elections. We need paper ballots, counted in plain view, no programmable, reprogrammed, unprogrammed, easily hacked machines in the mix, and we need to have our own people watching. Exit polls. It takes an army. You can't just stand back and say, we don't respect you.